The Apple Vision Pros have arrived. Yes, those crazy goggles that you've seen people flaunting around the streets of New York City and basically everywhere on the internet.
Well, here it is.
What is this thing?
This is the Apple Vision Pro.
I can put a window up now, but when I start walking, they like go away.
So if you're looking for a great product review on all of its functionality, this is not the video for you. Keep scrolling. But what we are gonna do in this video is dig into my perspective on exactly what does this potentially mean for Apple's retail business on this episode of Stock It or Drop It. And you might be wondering why I'm wearing these crazy ski goggles, but I wanted to get in the mood and I didn't buy them. So let's get into it. But I did go to the Apple store and try them on, and I have to say the experience was pretty magical. But is this product release Apple's next big hit? Is it their next iPhone? Or is it the Amazon Fire Phone? Which, if you have no idea what that is, my point exactly. If you don't know who I am, my name is Nick McHenry. I'm the founder of a retail tech company, and I spent over a decade working in the luxury fashion goods industry, helping brands expand their distribution across the globe. So this is just my 2 cents on what might be happening with Apple's business. Now, Apple might be one of the biggest tech brands, the darling of the tech industry. On this channel, we are equal opportunity reviewers, and we're gonna use the same framework we use to evaluate every single brand, and that is the CART framework. Yep, C-A-R-T. So the first thing we wanna look at with Apple is what are the channels that they're distributing their product through? You know, Apple, they kind of do all their product releases very similar, but they do this in a very, very smart way. What I loved about their strategy is they basically knew how many they were gonna sell on launch day because they did a very, very aggressive pre-selling campaign, which I'm a big fan of. Obviously, they're Apple, so they have raving fans, but almost a year in advance, they started to market their product and tell people this product is coming, so be ready.
So today, I'm excited to announce an entirely new AR platform with a revolutionary new product. And here it is.
So basically out the gate, they were selling 200,000 units of this product at a $3,500 price point is pretty impressive. And that, of course, was digitally native on their e-commerce website so they could put tutorials, videos, and so on and so forth. But now let's get into the post-launch phase. So the post-launch phase was still directly owned distribution channels. Now, they do have wholesale for their other products like Target, Best Buy, you name it. For this, because Apple launches so few products and they have such a low SKU count relative to other brands, they focused on just their e-commerce website as well as their stores. Now, at first I was sort of like, could they have gotten more distribution by, blowing it up, having it be in every store? But then when I thought about it, this is such a smart strategy for Apple, mainly because they can control the customer experience. They can control everything that's Apple. They can control their brand, their image. And for a product like this, you kind of have to be shown or described it. It's not something that someone that is in a big box store like Target could probably, really do it justice the way an Apple store could in person. And I like this combo effect of the in-store experience combined with e-commerce. Personally, I went in store to try it on myself. It was super seamless. I booked my appointment on the website, scheduled it in the store, and then I literally had somebody walk me through. They actually had a script on their phone walking through each step of what to say, how to give that customer the best experience with the Apple Vision Pros. So, as a whole, big fan of their distribution strategy in terms of channels they chose to go with because they could control that experience. A+ there. Now let's look at how they acquired their customers. So at first glance, it seemed like they took 2 main distribution channels for acquiring customers for this product, and that was digitally advertising as well as TV advertising. I took a quick look at their Facebook ads as well as their Google ads. I actually couldn't find any Google ads was related to the Apple Vision Pro specifically, but I did find Facebook ads running basically the same commercial that's on TV through the ad platforms as well, Facebook and Instagram primarily. So they were taking this ad that's professionally shot, it's very beautiful, very Apple, and pushing it across both TV and across social media. Now, personally, I don't love this. I think that the TV is great, it's got a specific purpose, but the fact that you're Apple and you can't run 2 different ads for TV as well as for social just feels a little bit lazy to me. I felt like they could do things that were more of a splash, especially for such a product itself, when it comes to the customer acquisition strategy of this product specifically. So I'm gonna give that a C. Average, sort of just did the Apple thing, call it quits. But there is one thing that they absolutely nailed.
Nailed it.
And that is the organic content around this product is unlike basically any other product I've ever seen Apple launch and most brands launch. First and foremost being Apple, I think it was smart to make it a $3,500 price point to start because it means that it's kind of a spectacle. It's a combination of the price points, so not everyone's gonna flock and go buy this immediately, but these things look ridiculous. People typing in the air in subways, people walking across the street. It's just a very memeable item that people can carry into normal scenarios, and it feels like we're living in the future or aliens have invaded or some type of something. But it's something that is immediately viral the day it hits the public eyes. And I don't have any details on this. I'm sure there's tons of inside baseball here, but the day it launched, it blew up everywhere. People doing tutorials, the biggest YouTube personalities talking about the product, walking you through it, giving you demos, making sure you understand every feature comparatively to, A, B, C, D. That alone blows the ad spend campaign out of the water. Just for my quick calculation of adding up all of these videos, there's no doubt that there's at minimum 1 billion views off of all of these organic channels combined.
100 billion!
So out of 200,000 pre-sold, I'm pretty sure they'll have absolutely no problem getting at least 2,000 more units off of these views. I'm gonna give it a C for Apple's actual efforts and an A++ for organic reach. Absolutely incredible from a product standpoint, and it was smart to build the way Apple does, a product that everybody could see that's gonna turn heads and really get the internet talking. And even Zuck chimed in his new fighter style.
All right, guys. So I finally tried Apple's Vision Pro. And, I have to say that before this, I expected that Quest would be the better value for most people since it's really good and it's like 7 times less expensive. But after using it, I don't just think that Quest is the better value. I think the Quest is the better product, period.
That itself went viral, and I think it actually probably helps Apple. It probably helps Zuck too, but in reality, it really helps Apple. And frankly, when it comes to this strategy, I don't think people want to be seen in the Quest. It's not the positioning they've done. Zuck focuses on a really great product, but with Apple, everybody wants to show it. It's as much a status item as it is an actual utility that you want to use. People in cafes are like, I'm working on a startup. I have a Patagonia vest. I want to use a MacBook. That's the world we live in with the positioning of the product. Now let's get into my favorite category, which is our risk factors. And to me, the big elephant in the room is, well, let's just call it as it is. To date, virtual reality has been a gigantic flop. Now, of course, when we were all in the pandemic and we thought we'd never go outside again, yes, we thought that this was the only way we'd be able to survive. It's been well documented that most people that buy virtual reality headsets try them, they use it once or twice, and then goes in some corner somewhere in your house that you forget about and never get back to. Yes, Apple is positioning this as not a VR. They're trying to use words specifically that are not virtual reality.
The era of spatial computing is here.
But it's a virtual reality headset. Let's call it as it is. So the biggest risk factor is that even the mighty Apple may not be big enough to get past this hump of what actually is the value delivered from a headset like this. Now, when I tried it on, I have to say you look pretty cool wearing them. Well, no, not really. You kind of look like a big goof. But listen, this is a V1, but didn't quite feel like something that I maybe would use all the time. Now, yes, Apple has taken other categories and made it their own through good design and good marketing and good branding. So if we look back to, let's say, the iPod, this was a better version of an MP3 player.
What is iPod? iPod is an MP3 music player.
And that's what made it huge. Even though it didn't have the same features, they were able to do something and push it into the next generation. That being said, the iPod was a better version of something that people already wanted, were buying, and were actively using. Same thing with the iPhone. The iPhone was Apple's reaction to BlackBerry. Everyone had a BlackBerry, everyone loved this idea of doing their whole life, their email, their internet, everything on their phone, so Apple retaliated with a better version. So traditionally, they've been improving on products that are already working very well. So this is probably arguably the first time they're taking on a category that, yes, it drives sales, it may be the future of the world, but so far has not been as big a hit as people expected, nor has been a gigantic retail success. So that is by far the biggest risk factor for Apple in this scenario. In addition, specifically to Apple, one other risk here is that Apple takes big swings. They don't have that many SKUs in their assortment. They're not selling hundreds of products that they can just ship, launch, it fails, great, we're gonna do a next release, no problem. They roll things out more like car manufacturers, where they build for a long time, they do all of the planning, they really hype it up, and they're betting that it will work. They're not just gonna try one version and be like, well, that's it, off to the races. Well, that's it, next product, here we come. They're gonna give it several years. They basically bet their business on each product they release to be the future of Apple. So just in general, that's a risk factor of launch, of, okay, can this thing continue to drive the sales that we expect it to? And can we be patient enough to wait for those sales to come? So now let's get into traction. How's it gone so far? How are things going? I would say the general reaction has been, who's buying these things? How could they possibly be selling? And in reality, I will say the results are pretty good. So most reports at this time of this recording, which is about a month into sales, are kind of still sticking around this 200,000 unit number. So let's just take the lowest end of that. It might be higher now, but 200,000 units. So it feels like in Apple's broad scheme of things, where we're used to everybody we know owning the product, it feels like a very small number in Apple terms. That being said, it's also a $3,500 price point, which is, I think, the most expensive product Apple's ever released. So 200,000 times 3,500, that would be about $700 million in sales. And just to give a quick benchmark, AirPods sold $2.2 billion in their first year. Granted, that's at a very low price point, so everyone had them. The iPhone 1 sold $5.8 billion in their first year. And the iPad had a great first year, selling $16.2 billion in merchandise their first year. So analysts are expecting that at minimum, they're gonna triple that this year. They're forecasting around 600,000 units of the Apple Vision Pro to be sold. So if you were to do the math on that, they would come in around where the first year of AirPods were. So around $2.1 billion in sales in the first year of Apple Vision Pro, which I would say from a traction perspective is a massive success for, once again, a product that is A, $3,500, and B, is a little more far out than headphones with the wire chopped off. So it seems like Apple has a smashing success on their hands yet again. Or does it? Just when everything seemed to be going absolutely dandy, there was trouble in paradise with Apple. And that is what we call in the retail business the dreaded return window. Apple's Apple Vision Pros had a 14-day return window, and like most products, people wait to the very last day to return. It's just a retail truth. Everybody waits till the last day as humanly possible. The tabloids were writing that the returns were coming back with the same ye olde problems that VR glasses of old had. They were too heavy, they were giving people headaches and migraines from wearing them too long, there was too much removal from the actual world, they couldn't find the actual use case day to day besides watching a movie once on them. There was all the same complaints that everybody had said before with prior iterations of VR goggles. The days following, the Apple PR chain came rolling out saying, no. Different sources were saying that the return rate was actually no higher than our other products. We didn't feel that there were that many coming back, and so on and so forth. But my 2 cents is here, it could send something deeper for the short term of Apple Vision Pros.
And so for those reasons, I'm out.
In conclusion, do I think the Apple Vision Pro is going to make Apple's retail business? No. Do I think it's going to break the retail business? Also no. This product will continue to improve, and I think will be a relatively small percentage of Apple's mix. Because the biggest comparison that I see is this is more like a laptop and less like a phone. You're probably not gonna wear this thing 24 hours a day all the time. It's gonna be more like a laptop where you take it to a computer, you whip it out, you slap it on, and boom, you have a big screen, whatever, in front of you to do your work on. So really I see it, and a $3,500 price point, that will probably come down, but it doesn't seem like anytime in the near future it's gonna be a $500 price point. So it's probably for the average person, not purchase a laptop and an Apple Vision Pro. It may actually replace iPad sales potentially. It might be, instead of my iPad going with me on trips and my computer's at home, I'm gonna have a MacBook and I'm gonna have my Apple Vision Pros for when I go on flights or when I travel. Or instead of giving the kids the iPad to watch CoComelon, I'm gonna give them the Apple Vision Pros to watch CoComelon. So I guess it would be a computer or iPad replacement, but definitely not a phone replacement in the near future, unless something dramatically changed. Realistically speaking, I'm not sure if Apple can fight against the bigger macro trend around VR, which is, what exactly is the real purpose? If you squint, you can see the value of it. Personally, I think this is gonna change the world in the next 10 years to 20 years. Do I think it's gonna change the world in the next 3? Probably not. So unless everybody else also gives up on VR goggles, I don't see Apple necessarily dropping it. They'll keep pushing things forward, they'll keep making it better, and it will continue to grow its sales growth. I think it's gonna be slow and steady growth until it hits, and then it's just gonna skyrocket up. So they're doing the right things to take a position early in this market, because let's face it, it's still super early. No one I know is wearing VR goggles, even on a weekly basis. So it's smarter of them to take this position early. Even if the sales are relatively slow over the next couple years, you absolutely wanna be there when things start taking off. But at the end of the day, only time will tell.
That was amazing.